Hi everyone, my name's Alisa Tilsner. I'm a Stampin Up demonstrator in South Australia. Today I thought we would play with the Free as a Bird stamp set. It is on the last chance list, so you might want to grab it. It is probably one of my most favourite stamp sets. It's been well used. You can see it's still got a little bit of staining on it, so I have definitely gotten my use out of this one. And if you don't have it already, honestly, grab it because it is a classic, I think. Now, I've always coloured it with watercolours with my ink and an aqua painter, but I thought before it disappears completely, I better try it with some blends. So that's what I'm going to be showing you today. I do have a video of me colouring these with inks and I will put a link to that down in the description, but today we will just colour with our blends and I will run through the card at the end of the video. So working with our blends, we need, and they are alcohol ink. I've got a whole stack of them over here up in the top corner. Because they are alcohol ink, we do need a water-based ink pad. Remember, opposites attract. So when you're working with alcohol, you'll use water-based ink. And if you are watercoloring, you'll need an alcohol-based stamp pad, which is where we use the StazOn. So I'm just going to ink this up. And then as we start colouring, I will actually zoom my camera in a little bit so that you can get a better look. And I'm hoping that the piece of card that I pulled out of my scrap bin is big enough for my image. Okay, nice one. Okie dokie. Now the colours that I have got, I'm going to use the soft suede for the trunk of the tree. I'm going to use Old Olive for the leaves. I'm going to use Calypso Coral for the flowers, and then for the birds I'm going to use the light, the ivory, and the bronze. And for my original card I used Daffodil Delight, but I'm actually going to try it with the So Saffron this time to see whether it gives a little bit of a softer look. So let's get started on that. I usually always start with my tree. Every time I've coloured it, I've started with my tree. Okay, so let me just stand up and zoom in so that I know that you guys can see what I'm doing properly. I may actually just grab my crumb cake. I know that my light crumb cake is dry, so I'll need to remember to order one of them. I need to put a wish list down. Okay, so I'm starting with my dark suede and I am just going to draw a small line along the bottom of the tree trunk. Branch, I should say. It's not a whole trunk, is it? Now there is another one somewhere here. A little bit there, and I always forget to colour that one in. And then I work through my light suede. And I'm just going over the top of my dark suede and just extending it ever so slightly because we are just working in a small area here. And then I'll use my light. Actually, I won't use that one. Actually, I might not end up using, because the crumb cake, yeah, that's completely dry. I need a new one. Okay, we won't be using that. When you use the crumb cake, it is a totally different colour to the suede. And it does actually change your colourings a little bit. So I like to go over everything twice. So I'm just going to add a tiny little bit more of the dark. And I probably use less of them on the second passing as well. And I'm just going to leave that. You can see there's a tiny little gap of white and I will just leave that as is. So next I'm going to come in and do my leaves with my Old Olive. And this one I'm not particularly, I'm not going into too much detail. I was going to say I'm not going to be particularly neat, but I will be neat. I just won't be doing a lot of detail. So what I'm doing here is just doing a line up the middle of each of these leaves. Now some of these leaves are actually curled over. Like you can see this one down here, that one is actually curled. So I'm going to do that little underside, and I think there's one over here that has an underside as well. So I'm just going to do them and then coming in with my light, and I can just fill in the gap. And then going back over with my dark. And again, I'll just do a little bit less than what I originally put down. So just a thinner line. I'll go over that little turn again. And I'm actually not going to do my light this time. I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, so it's all fairly easy at the moment. And with these guys, I just do a little splodge in the middle. Now this one I will do the back petals, sorry, in full strength, and these ones I will blend a little bit. Okay, and again, just adding a tiny little bit of extra dark. And I'm just dotting it on this time because I don't want a huge amount. Like so. Okay, now comes the fun part, the birds. Okay, so I'm going to start off using my ivory. I don't actually have, my bronze, sorry, I'm looking at it. I don't actually have the new blends that are out, so the skin tone ones, but they would have been really good to use as this as well. Now you can see the bird's got some sketch lines in it, so what I'm going to do is just flick, just doing short strokes with the bronze where those lines are. Sorry, I struggle to talk and colour at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to go and do all of them. A little bit around the bottom, a little bit around there because the birds are touching. Okay, and I will be going backwards and forwards a fair bit for these ones. Okay, so now I'm using the ivory and I'm just going to use the same little stroking motions and go over my bronze and extend out. And I want to leave his belly clear of any colour because that's where I'll come in with my saffron. So I can just join his head and neck up and extend that area out. Okay, and you will want to go over this a couple of times. Okay, I'm not going to cap them just yet because I probably will come back to them. But this time I'm going to use my So Saffron. So I'm going to start with the dark one first, and I'm just going to put a little bit of colour in his chest, but I'm not going to join it up. I'll save that one for my light. So, and I'm not like colouring, I'm still sort of doing those strokes just to keep my edges a little bit harsher. So I don't want to do like a colour around or anything, a round circle. And then with this one, I'm going to come over the whole lot and actually extend it up into the ivory area. So here, we do want to try and merge those colours together. So we want to get that blend line out as much as we can. This one's quite a bit subtle. I'll bring in my other card again later and show you the difference. So I'm just going to come in with the dark again, make that area a little bit darker. And this time I can actually put a little bit more depth into it because I've extended that light saffron into the ivory, so I can actually make that a little bit darker and a little bit bigger, because we sort of want to make it like the bird is, you know, I mean, when you look at a bird, it doesn't have harsh lines, or some birds have harsh lines in their feathers, but this one we just want to be subtle. Okay, so now I'm going to come in with my bronze again, and I'm just going to deepen his head and his wing and the underbelly just a little bit around the edges. And I'm not going to go over all of these detail bits, I'm just going around the outside edges of my bird and his wing if it's showing. Okay, and now the beak. The beak is always, we always tend to want to do like a red or something on his beak, but I'm actually just going to go really lightly. I'm going to use the ivory. I think I used the bronze last time, but when you look at little spoggies, they've actually got little brown beaks. So, not that this is a spoggy because it's yellow, but you know what I mean. So that is how I colour in my birds with the blends. So it's quite nice. Now what I did with this, I'll just draw out again so that I can show you my card and what I did to it. So I'm going to stand so I can talk to you and show you on the screen at the same time. So these are my two birds. So this one I used the Daffodil Delight instead of the So Saffron. I just thought, just as I went to film, that I would do So Saffron instead. So I've teamed the base up with matching Daffodil Delight and Calypso Coral, and just stamped some of the other images from the stamp set. Now, after I had cut it out and I put it against my card, it looked really quite stark. So what I did, and I'll try and come up as close as I can, is I grabbed my Balmy Blue markers and I just went around the outline. I think you can see, excuse my fingernails. And then I went heavier underneath, and then I just filled in all the white space after I had cut it out with the Balmy Blue. And then when I cut my piece of stitched rectangle out underneath, I sponged on the Balmy Blue as well, so it sort of all merges in together. I did stamp and colour and cut out some extra leaves, but I didn't colour these ones in blue. I just left them in white, and I think it sort of all blends in quite nicely. Like it's not obviously, you can't tell so much. So that is how I finished that one off. And another card that I have that I haven't given away, I've made so many cards with this, is this one here. I made this one quite a while ago. This is when the stamp set first came out, and this one is coloured with the ink pads and a water painter. So, and the reason why I haven't given this one away yet is because I have to fix it still. I don't know what I was thinking that day, but it's just one of those moments. So I will put a link in the description to show you how I have coloured in this style as well, which is really pretty. So I would definitely say if you don't have the Free as a Bird yet, it is still available in Australia, and it is definitely a nice one to get. I've just finished this one off with some iridescent rhinestones as well. So very pretty no matter which way you colour it, and definitely one to have in your stash for quite some time because it is just so pretty. So thank you very much for joining me. I will be live Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. Australian Central Standard Time now, not Daylight Savings, we've moved back. So you can check that up in your local time zone if you wish. So just search for ACST 10 a.m. That time and just convert it to your own local time. So thank you very much for watching me, and I hope to see you on Thursdays. Bye now.